Hello students, today we will start our discussion on first law of thermodynamics. The first law of thermodynamics will be covered in 3 lectures. We will start from the very beginning. Until now we have gathered a little knowledge about thermodynamic system, state variable and infinitesimal change in thermodynamic variables, state functions, etc. Let us start from the very beginning. Last day we have discussed already that suppose I am having one PV diagram. In this y-axis I am drawing P, in the x-axis I am drawing V, and I am having a state changing from this point to that point like that. So the first point, initial point, can be designated as P1 V1, that is pressure is P1 and volume is V1, and the final point, it may be written as P2 and V2, and this curve will be called a thermodynamic curve, which is defining a process, a thermodynamic process, which is going from P1 V1 state to P2 V2 state. Similarly, we have already learned that if I am having a PV diagram like that, and I am having the first state here and the second state here, and the system undergoes a change like that with an arrow sign and coming back to the initial system like that, then this process will be called a cyclic process. Also we have seen that in the PV diagram, if we denote a curve like that, a system changing from this point to that point, we can easily see that volume is changing but pressure constant. So this type of thermodynamical systems will be called isobaric system, as volume is changing and pressure is constant, and this diagram will be called one isobar. And if I am having a state like that changing from this point to that point, here the volume is constant but the pressure is changing, so this type of process will be called isochoric process, and this curve will be called a isochore. Very simple, that we have learnt already. So let us start from some idea that the thermodynamical system, it will be applied on the gas and hydraulic system only, or it can define other physical quantities also. We will start from denoting the infinitesimal change in the thermodynamical state variables. Suppose I am having pressure P and it is undergoing some infinitesimal change, so the change will be defined as dP. I am having a volume V, it is also undergoing infinitesimal change, it will be defined as dV, like that. For H, for T, everything, if T is changing infinitesimally, it will be defined as dt, like that we know. Now let us see that some deductions of equation of state. Let us consider that I have a function f which is defined as f is a function of p, v and t, and that is equals to 0. Or we can write now that p, that will be a function of v and t, volume and temperature. From that, if we take partial derivative both the sides, it can be written infinitesimal change in p, that is dp, that can be written as del p del v at constant t, then dv plus del p del t at constant v dt, like that. Interestingly, we see here the first function, that is del p del v at constant t. Look at this curve, v is constant, sorry, t is constant, temperature constant, means the system will be called isothermal. So this process defines the isothermal process, change in pressure with volume. Here it is defining constant volume, change in pressure with temperature with constant volume. In which process you are finding constant volume? This process. The volume is constant here, only the pressure is changing because of temperature. So this process will be isochoric. Okay, this is very simple. Similarly, for one isobaric system, which is isobaric, we can write this is isobaric system, pressure is constant, so isobaric system dP, that is equals to 0. Let me define this equation as equation 1. So if we now look at equation 1, and if we put the value dP equals to 0 for isobaric process, so what will be happening? Interesting thing will occur from this equation 1. We are putting dP equals to 0, so left hand side is 0, so the equation will be del P del V at constant T dV, that will be equals to minus del P del T at constant V dt. I am rewriting this equation in simplified form. I am keeping only del P del T, this function del P del T at constant V in the left hand side. So the right hand side will begin with this equation minus del P del V at constant T, then again this dV dt. So this will also be written del V del T at constant P. We are considering isobaric process, dP equals to 0, that is why P equals to constant. dP equals to 0 means P equals to constant, that is why here written P constant in this function. So here is the time we can introduce two new functions. Let me introduce two new functions. One function is called, to identify the physical meaning of this function and that function. The first function del P del V at constant T. Constant T, I repeat, constant T means isothermal and constant P means pressure constant, that means isobar. Okay, now to attribute the physical meaning of equation 1, this equation 1, we note that we are introducing two new functions. The first function is called volume expansibility. Volume expansibility, and it is defined as beta. If it is volume expansibility, beta will be written as 1 by V del T at constant P. Volume expansibility at constant pressure. Look at this curve, concentrate on this curve. In this curve you are getting expansion in volume, but the pressure is constant, and this function can be written as del V del T, that is change in volume with temperature. As P is constant, the other function should influence the volume, the other function remains P, so it will be del V del T, change in volume with constant pressure. So it is beta, and it is physically termed as volume expansibility. And also I am introducing another new function. It is called isothermal elasticity. And it is reciprocal of isothermal compressibility. So isothermal elasticity, it is termed as Kt, and it will be reciprocal of isothermal compressibility. Isothermal compressibility is termed as Kt, sorry, this term is termed as Et. Elasticity, for elasticity E. So we can write Et equals to 1 by Kt, reciprocal of compressibility, will be equals to minus of V del P del V at constant T. Isothermal means constant T, T will be constant, and the pressure that should follow the influence of volume, But what is the significance of this negative sign? You consider one isothermal process. Suppose I am having one gas filled chamber and it is undergoing isothermal process. T is constant. So if I increase the pressure by one piston, if I increase the pressure, the volume will decrease, and if I decrease the pressure, the volume will increase. That is, it is reciprocal to each other. So the negative sign influences, actually with increase in volume, pressure doesn't increase, pressure rather decreases. That is why the negative sign is added here. I am giving this equation as equation number 4 and this equation as equation number 3. So try to follow the equations. We are getting lots of equations now. There is one equation 1 and this is equation 2, direction of equation 1 and introduction of two new functions beta and et at this equation 3 and 4 respectively. So let us proceed. Now we are trying to combine the equation 2, 3 and 4. Two, 3 and 4. Combining all the equations, we can write this 2, 3 and 4. Rather, actually what I am doing, I am putting the value of this beta and ekt here and here. From beta I am getting del v del t. Here is del v del t. So I will put the value of del v del t in terms of beta here. And here I am getting del p del v. This is del p del v at constant t. Here I will be putting the value of e t in terms of the del v del t in terms of et. So equation 2 can be written as, from 2 we will write del p del t at constant v will be equals to beta v et divided by v. Rather, it will be equals to beta vv cancels out et. It is very simple. You can try it out. Please stop. Please stop. You can try it out at home. Sorry for the interruption. And this function, I am giving it equation number 5. Thus, for a given temperature, the increase in pressure will be more than the expansibility or expansivity, and also elasticity are large. Using equation this 5, we can write the volume of dP. Using this equation 5, we can write the value of dP. dP can be written as, dP from this equation can be written as, also you can write the value of dP from equation 1 also. From equation 1, if you put the value of beta and et here, you can write from equation 1 also. You can write, okay, I'm going from equation 1. This will be simple. From equation 1 we can write dP, that will be equals to del p del v at constant t. So del p del v at constant t, that will be minus of et by v dv, it is here, plus the second function will be del p del t at constant v. So del p del t constant v, I got the value from equation 5. I'll put it here. It will be beta et then dt. Let me name it equation 6. Going to the next page, I can write that again I am writing this equation for simplicity of understanding. dP will be equals to minus et by v dv plus beta et dt. So for isochoric process, what is isochoric process? In isochoric process, we know that one item will vanish, that is V is constant isochoric process, so del V, this term will vanish. Isochoric process, we can write dp equals to this beta et then dt. Similarly, for infinitesimal change in the system, we can write dp equals to like that. dp defines actually infinitesimal change in the pressure P. So if we take integration both the sides, we can write it dp equals to beta and et, these are constants, then integration dt. Limit of the integration you can consider, it is from p1 to p2, and this is t1 to t2, and this can be written as p2 minus p1 equals to beta et then t2 minus t1. So for any thermodynamic system, if it is isochoric, then change in pressure can be written as this function, and if it is the infinitesimal change in pressure, this can be written as this equation, where beta and et are having their usual significance. Now if we start from the equation, suppose instead of the previous equation we are starting from the equation, the volume V is a function of P and T. Initially you considered pressure is a function of volume and temperature. Now I am considering the volume itself is a function of P and T, and proceeding in the same way, you would have been arrived to the equation ln of V2 by V1, that will be equals to beta T2 minus T1. You can try it at home. We started this equation considering the pressure, we arrived to this equation, we considered pressure, it is a function of volume and temperature, we arrived to this equation. Now if you consider volume to be a function of pressure and temperature, doing the same process, considering the value of beta and et, you will rather arrive to this equation. These are very simple. Now I am showing you one practical example. In that practical example, you will understand that a thermodynamic system not necessarily deals with the system filled with gas or liquid or fluid. Rather, it is applicable to any other physical systems. Following the same way, I am doing one equation that I am considering one rigid rod that is attached to the rigid support. Suppose I am considering one wire or thin rod which is attached with the wall both the sides, and I am considering some functions, that is tension here is defined as F, temperature is defined as P, T, and P and V may be assumed constant. P and V, these are constants because it is only a rigid wire. Not necessarily we have to deal with pressure and volume. We are considering two other functions, tension and temperature. Okay, so in this particular system we can write the tension F, that will be a function of L, that is the length. If we increase the length, or if the length is being increased, the tension will decrease. When the length is constant, there is a constant tension. If we try to decrease the length, the tension will increase. So tension will be a function of length and temperature. Why temperature? Because temperature can influence the length itself. You have already learned the temperature coefficient of length, that is with temperature the length of the metal or anything can increase or decrease. When pressure is increasing, the length will increase. When pressure is decreasing, the length will decrease. So proceeding the same way, let me write first the value of df. Df can be written as as I told, del F del L at constant T dl plus del F del T at constant L dt. Okay, now if the tension remain constant for one thermodynamic stability, when the system is in stable condition, for tension to be constant, we can write the value of df, that is equals to 0. So simple. So if I write, let me take it equation number 1. In this equation number 1, if I take tension equals to constant, that is df equals to 0, I have to write the equation like that. The right hand side will only exist. From the right hand side I can write del F del L at constant T and del L del T at constant F. Constant tension I have considered already, constant tension will be equals to minus del F del T at constant L. Now we can introduce the Young's modulus. The Young's modulus of this rigid rod or rigid wire can be written as L by A, where L is the length and A is the cross-sectional area, into del F del L at constant T. Rate of change of tension with length in a constant temperature, and A is the cross-sectional area. Also, we can write the coefficient of linear expansion of wire. Coefficient of expansion linear expansion with temperature, suppose it is alpha, generally written in form of alpha, will be equals to 1 by L, then del L del T at constant F. Now I am putting the value of this, let me consider it equation number 2, this is 3 and this is 4. So I am having now 4 equations. I am putting the values of these 4 equations and combining rather all together. I can put the value of this del F del L here. I can put the value of del L del T here, and I will be getting the value of del F del T. So the value of this del F del T at constant L will be equals to, the minus sign goes to the left hand side, and it will be minus of A y alpha. Equation number 5. Now if the wire undergoes an infinitesimal change in tension, then this df can be written as, now I am going back to equation 1. In the equation 1 again I am putting the value of del F del L, where from I will get del F del L, I will get del F del L here from y, and I can put the value of del F del T in terms of alpha, del F del T in terms of alpha. From equation 1 I am writing from 1, this is from 1, from equation 1 I can write the value of df will be equals to ay divided by L into dl minus ay alpha dt. So if df equals to that, you can consider the integration both the sides and you can do the needful. For simplicity of calculation, let me consider the length is constant, that is it is rigid, and for rigidity and length is constant. If length is constant, we can write dl equals to 0. In this equation put dl equals to 0. You can write df equals to minus a y alpha dt. So integrating both the sides, you can write integration df equals to minus a y alpha dt. Integration here also, the function will vary from f1 to f2, and here it will vary from t1 to t2. Simplify this one. simplifying this one, you will get F2 minus F1 will be equals to A y alpha T1 minus T2, considering this negative sign. So similar calculation may be done in any kind of system which is in a thermodynamic equilibrium. Not necessarily you have to apply the laws of thermodynamics on one system filled with gas or liquid or fluid. That is what I tried to mean here. So let us proceed now with the first law of thermodynamics. So I will now try to give you the statement of first law of thermodynamics. To understand the first law of thermodynamics, you have to know some other parameters which we have already discussed, that what is work from the point of view of thermodynamics. Work, that is maybe of two kinds. One is internal work and external work. Work may be done by the system, work may be done on the system. And if you are when a system it is undergoing a displacement due to the action of force, work is said to be done and is measured by the product of the force and the component of displacement along the direction of the force. So unless you know the force, you cannot predict what is the amount of work is done here. Next, you have to know what is quasi-static process. Quasi-static process we have already discussed. That is, a quasi-static process is one process when the thermodynamical variables are changing so infinitesimally small amount that one observer looking from outside will see the system is itself stable and the system is not varying at all. And also we have seen that work, it is dependent on path. Suppose I am having one PV diagram and this is initial state and this is final state. The work, if it is done in this way, or change is going from this point to that point, the work will be different, and from this point to that point the work will be different. It is dependent upon path. We have already seen it and discussed it already. Now we will go towards the first law of thermodynamics. The statement of first law of thermodynamics you have learnt several times. I am not the first one to tell you this one, but I will try to discuss from the basic point of view, from the origin of that is from the definition of heat. What is heat and what is energy and what is temperature, that you know, but from thermodynamical point of view, where from comes the definition. Suppose I am considering one thermodynamic system, and let me give you some statements. The generalized statement of the result is known as the first law of thermodynamics when I am considering one system is undergoing some change from one point to another point, and some work is done on the system or by the system, and because of the work is done, some energy is being transferred to the system or energy is gained by the system, and the work done is having two different components. One is being transformed into heat and another is increasing or decreasing its internal energy of the system itself. In this kind of system, if we consider a thermally insulated system, I repeat, thermally insulated system, and it is caused to change from initial state to final state, the amount of work done is the same for adiabatic paths connecting the states, but in general we are not getting any system which is necessarily thermally insulated. We have to deal with the system which is surrounded by some environment. If the system is not being surrounded by the environment, then we can write easily, that is W initial to final will be equals to UF minus UI. There will be a negative sign. W means the work done, initial to final, and UF and UI are the initial. This is UI is the initial internal energy and this is the final initial energy, internal energy. But if the system is surrounded by some environment or surrounding, this law will not be applicable. The negative sign confirms with the signature of work. Now we are considering for work done by the system. If the work done is by the system, Wi to Wf initial to final, it will be positive, and then Uf is greater than Ui. It is for work done by the system. And vice versa, that I can say, that is when work is done on the system, then we can write Wi minus F, that will be negative, and Uf will be greater than Ui, that you can say. So this is very simple actually to understand and learn, that is internal energy, final and initial, this changes depending upon the work is done by the system or when work is done on the system. That you know, and you have already covered in 12th standard. Now what was my point of understanding, that if the system is not thermally insulated, then thermodynamically the heat is defined as follows. If a system whose temperature is defined, a system whose temperature is different from the surrounding and on which work may be performed undergoes a transformation, the energy transferred by means other than the performance of work, that is non-mechanical, is equal to the difference between the adiabatic work and the non-adiabatic work. This part is adiabatic work and this part is non-adiabatic work. So if the system is not insulated and it is having some surrounding and the temperature of the system is different than the surrounding, then the difference between this adiabatic work and non-adiabatic work will be termed as the temperature. That is, we can write Q equals to UF minus UI minus of W. Sorry, I told temperature, it is not temperature, heat transferred. There is Q will be equals to UF minus UI minus of minus W. So actually you can write UF minus UI plus W, Q equals to that, and this equation is called the mechanical formulation of first law of thermodynamics. This is mechanical form. Then mechanically I am trying to understand the thermodynamically how heat is defined, and I told if the system is insulated, then the adiabatic work done and non-adiabatic work done will be same. But if the system is having some surrounding, when the temperature of the surrounding is different than the system, then heat transfer will occur, and amount of heat transfer or heat actually will be defined as the difference between adiabatic and non-adiabatic work, like that, and I will get the value of Q equals to UF minus UI plus W. So from this equation, mathematical formulation of first law of thermodynamics begins. The mathematical formulation of first law of thermodynamics tells you that dq, this q, infinitesimal change in q, is defined as dq, uf minus ui, that is defined as du, plus this will be defined as dw, and this is the mathematical formulation of first law of thermodynamics. Now If the system, I am considering any system which is quasi-static, it can be written like that. Now for a system, if I consider the any quasi-static system, instead of dW can be written as also PdV. So the first law of thermodynamics, the mathematical form will vary. It can be written as dq equals to du plus p dv. For a system which is for a stretched wire, dq can be written as du minus f dl. Instead of dw, then I can write f dl. Similar examples are there for any system, magnetic system, where H is the magnetic intensity and where H is the magnetic field and M is the magnetic intensity. There dq can be written as du minus h dm, like that. And here also I am trying to say the same thing, that it is not necessarily true that the thermodynamics or laws of first law of thermodynamics will be applicable on the gaseous system or system filled with gas or liquid or fluid, like that. Rather, it will have some different applications in any kind of system which is in thermodynamic equilibrium. So that is all for today, and the next lecture that will be coming within a couple of days, you will be getting some applications of first law of thermodynamics. So I will request you to start going through the first law of thermodynamics from the physical point of view. Whatever you have learned already, I am not saying that it is not true, but this was very simplified version. Now you are the student of physics honors, so you have to be more learned. And the education system nowadays begins with learning and unlearning. Unlearning process is very important, that whatever you have learned, you have to capitalize this knowledge, then unlearn this one, learn new things. Next day onwards, I will start the first law of thermodynamics, its applications, and Cp, Cv, gamma, all these things for real gas thermodynamic stability we will start discussing. And within 2 lectures, we will finish the first law of thermodynamics and proceed. Thank you.